Hi, John Haney for the Job Shopper. Look, there was a lot of buzz online in the Twitter sphere this afternoon after the New York Times reported today that the National Labor Relations Board settled a case. It was brought by an employee who was fired from her company after criticizing her supervisor on Facebook. Well, the Twitter sphere went nuts and said, oh my God, this is a game changer. You can no longer fire an employee for what they do or say on Facebook. And actually, that's really not what the NLRB decided. It was a lot narrower than that. And apparently what happened was that this employee, on her personal computer, on her personal time, on her personal Facebook account, made some comments that were critical of her supervisor. Well, the supervisor saw the comments and took offense and fired the employee, claiming that she violated corporate policy. And here's the problem. Companies are still working from an old playbook, and they're working from these kind of antiquated corporate policies that don't take into account the new world that is made up of hundreds of social media platforms. So the rules just don't really apply anymore. And what the NLRB said was, look, you can't prevent employees from saying anything about anything that goes on in the workplace. And so the real problem here was the company didn't have any social media policy. So there were no guidelines as to what was appropriate or inappropriate. So the first step, how companies can protect themselves in this new era of social media exhibitionism, first is create a detailed social media policy and have it signed by all your employees. Look, if you carefully craft a social media policy, at least you will establish a set of guidelines, a set of rules. And look, lines are always going to kind of be shifting and be a little blurry at times. But without a social media policy, you're really operating in the dark. So a social media policy in an instance like this would let the company identify what they view as privileged or confidential information that is never to be revealed or discussed online. It's actually pretty easy to identify things like trade secrets and proprietary information. And look, if you want to attempt to put in, prohibitions on things like talking about salaries or, wage levels, or look, it's something that you can try and see what, exactly, how far you can go. The problem here was, this company prohibited pretty much everything, and the NLRB said that went too far. And it's also important that you require in your social media policy that any employee who engages in social discussions that concern the company clearly identify themselves as an employee of the company and also include a disclaimer that their opinions are strictly their own and not the company's, and prohibit the use of any type of company logos or trademarks unless you get specific permission, because you don't want individuals to be kind of perceived as speaking for the company. Look, there's no doubt that with proliferation of social media platforms and the increase in your workers' participation for both professional reasons and personal reasons in all these different social media platforms, that you're going to run across a lot more complexities. There's going to be a lot more nuance that's introduced. And even having a social media policy in place may not fully resolve all these. But it's essential that you at least take these first steps to protect your brand, to protect your reputation, and to protect your intellectual property. Now, taken from the flip side, if you're an employee, you better assume that anything you write on Facebook, on Twitter, on MySpace, on any of the social media platforms will be seen by the person who you least want to see it. We live in a Google world now. And it's going to be really hard to hide anything that you do. All it takes is someone to take a screenshot of what you write, post it somewhere else, it gets Googled, you get found. So you have to ask yourself and kind of monitor yourself and say, before you click submit, is this a comment that you want up there perpetually? And is this something that you want your boss, your CEO, whomever to see? If it's not, think twice. Just don't post it.